James Mitchell was 34 years old and earning $58,000 a year as a high school history teacher when his wife's family made him stand outside during his own father's funeral reception. And what the reading of the will revealed 3 hours later would cost them everything they'd spent 20 years building. The November rain hammered against the windows of Riverside Memorial Chapel on East 76th Street in Manhattan as James stood in the hallway, his $89 Target suit soaked through. Inside the reception room, his wife Catherine's family, the Westbrooks of Westbrook Capital Management, worth an estimated $47 million, laughed and drank $300 bottles of Chateau Margaux while his father lay in a casket, 50 ft away. The help doesn't belong in here during family time. Catherine's mother, Patricia Westbrook, had announced loudly when James tried to enter, though I suppose he thinks he's family now. James had heard worse from them over the past 8 years of marriage. But today, at his father's funeral, something inside him finally cracked. Not enough to make a scene. He'd learned that the Westbrooks fed on confrontation, like sharks on blood, but enough to make him remember what his father, Robert Mitchell, had whispered to him in the hospital 3 weeks ago when the pancreatic cancer had reduced him to 97 lobes of translucent skin and jutting bones. Let them think they've won, son. Just wait for the lawyers. James had thought it was the morphine talking. His father had been a janitor at PS 147 in the Bronx for 41 years, retiring with a pension of $31,000 annually. He'd lived in the same rent-controlled apartment on Grand Concourse since 1983, paying $847 a month for a two-bedroom that would cost talentos $3,200 on the open market. The most valuable thing James thought his father owned was a 2006 Honda Civic with 187,000 miles on it. He had no idea how wrong he was. James, sweetie, maybe you should just wait in the car. Catherine appeared in the hallway, her $2,400 Burberry dress immaculate. Her expression, that particular blend of pity and embarrassment she'd perfected over the years. Daddy's telling the story about the time you tried to explain cryptocurrency to him at the country club, and everyone's laughing so hard. It's my father's funeral, Catherine. I know, baby, I know. But you know how my family is. Just give them an hour, okay? Then we'll go home and I'll make your favorite lasagna. And then Mr. Mitchell, a man in an impeccable charcoal suit, appeared at the end of the hallway carrying a leather briefcase with the gold-embossed logo of Thornton, Rothschild and Associates, one of the most expensive law firms in New York with partners, billing at $200 per hour. I'm Marcus Thornton. Your father retained our services. I know this is difficult timing, but we need to conduct the reading of the will today as specified in Mr. Robert Mitchell's final wishes. The conference room is ready. Catherine's face went pale. A will? What will? James, your father didn't have anything to... Apparently he did. James felt something strange rising in his chest. Not quite hope. He'd had that, beaten out of him years ago by the Westbrooks, but something close to it. Where's the conference room? 3rd floor. I've already notified the other interested parties. Other parties? Catherine's voice climbed an octave. What other parties? Your family, Mrs. Mitchell. Your father insisted they be present. If you enjoy stories of shocking family secrets and sweet revenge against the wealthy elite, with a sweet reconciliation at the ending, kindly like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from. The conference room on the 3rd floor of Riverside Memorial Chapel was designed for exactly these occasions. Families gathering to divide estates, to discover secrets, to fight over money while a body cooled in the basement. The mahogany table could seat 20. Today it held 12. On one side, Patricia Westbrook, 61, in her $8,700 Chanel suit. Her husband, Richard Westbrook, 64, founder and CEO of Westbrook Capital Management. Their son, Brandon Westbrook, 36, hedge fund manager, with a $340,000 annual salary plus bonuses. Their daughter, Melissa Westbrook Chen, 33, married to a plastic surgeon and living off a $2.1 million trust fund. And Catherine. On the other side, James alone. "This is absurd," Patricia declared. Her 3-carat diamond ring from Tiffany & Co. Retail price, $127,000, catching the light as she gestured dismissively. "Marcus, I don't know what that old janitor told you, but there's clearly been some mistake. The Mitchells don't have estates. They have garage sales." Brandon snorted into his whiskey. Papier Van Winkle 23-year, $3,500 a bottle, which he'd brought from the reception. "This is priceless, Dad. Can you imagine? Maybe he's leaving James his mop collection. Finally something he's qualified to inherit." "Brandon," Catherine said weakly, but she didn't look at James. She never looked at James when her family attacked him. Marcus Thornton remained completely professional, unmoved by the Westbrooks' sneering. He'd been a lawyer for 23 years, had handled estates worth hundreds of millions. He'd seen every variety of human greed and cruelty. But there was something in his eyes, just a flicker. That made James think the man knew exactly what was coming and was enjoying the anticipation. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're here for the reading of the last will and testament of Robert James Mitchell, deceased November 15th, 2024, at Mount Sinai Hospital. Mr. Mitchell worked with our firm for the past 18 years to structure his estate and ensure his final wishes were executed precisely." 18 years? Richard Westbrook frowned. "That's impossible. Your firm charges what? $500 an hour minimum. Our standard rate is only $200 per hour. Mr. Westbrook, Mr. Mitchell paid in full in advance for all services rendered. Total fees came to approximately $67,000 over the 18-year period." The Westbrooks exchanged glances. James felt dizzy. $67,000 in legal fees. His father, who clipped coupons from the Sunday newspaper, who bought day-old bread from the bakery on 188th Street, who had never in James's entire life taken a vacation, that wasn't camping in the Catskills. "This is a scam," Patricia announced. "I'm calling our attorney." "You're welcome to do so, Mrs. Westbrook. However, I should mention that you are specifically named in the will, which is why your presence was requested. Leaving now would mean forfeiting your opportunity to hear what Mr. Mitchell had to say to you." That stopped her. The Westbrooks didn't forfeit anything. Marcus Thornton opened his briefcase and withdrew a thick document, bound in navy leather. "I'll begin with the preliminary statements. I, Robert James Mitchell, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament, revoking all previous wills and codicils. I've prepared this document with full knowledge of its contents and implications, having been advised by legal counsel at Thornton, Rothschild and Associates for the past 18 years. James's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the mahogany table. "First, I wish to address the financial inventory of my estate. At the time of this document's preparation, my total assets are valued at approximately $74.3 million. The room exploded. Patricia Westbrook's champagne glass, Baccarat crystal, 85 per glass, shattered on the marble floor. Richard choked on his whiskey. Brandon's face went from smirking confidence to pale shock in under 3 seconds. Melissa grabbed her husband's arm. Her perfectly manicured nails, weekly appointments at La Bella Vita, $350 per session, digging into his Armani suit jacket. Catherine just stared at James, her mouth opening and closing like a fish drowning in air. "That's impossible," Richard managed. $74 million from a janitor's salary. This is fraud. This is all verifiable. Mr. Westbrook, I assure you every dollar is accounted for and legal. Mr. Mitchell was quite thorough in his documentation. Would you like me to continue? Yes, James heard himself say. His voice sounded distant, like it was coming from underwater. Please continue. Marcus Thornton allowed himself the smallest smile. The source of my wealth requires explanation, as it will surprise those who knew me only as a custodial worker. In 1983, I inherited $127,000 from my uncle Vincent Mitchell, who had no children of his own. Rather than spend this money, I invested it carefully and conservatively. I purchased a small apartment building in Williamsburg, Brooklyn for $78,000, a neighborhood that was considered undesirable at the time. I lived frugally, continued working my job and reinvested all rental income. James remembered that building. His father had sold it in 2005, And James had thought it was because he needed money for medical bills. His mother had accumulated before she died. Over the next 41 years, I bought and sold 17 properties in Brooklyn, Queens and the Bronx, always ahead of gentrification patterns. I purchased stock in Apple Computer in 1985 for $3 per share and held it through every split. I bought Amazon at $18 per share in 1997. I invested in Google's IPO in 2004. I purchased Bitcoin in 2011 when it traded at $7 per coin. I now hold 847 Bitcoin, currently valued at approximately $31.2 million at today's market price of $36,850 per coin. Brandon Westbrook looked like he was going to vomit. He'd spent the last 5 Christmases explaining to James very slowly, as if to a child, how cryptocurrency was a scam that only idiots fell for. I lived as a janitor because I enjoyed the work. I liked the students at PS 147. I liked having a purpose, a routine. I did not live frugally because I was poor. I lived frugally because I am not a fool. Every dollar I didn't spend on useless luxuries was a dollar that could grow, compound, and eventually provide security for my only son, James Robert Mitchell. James felt wetness on his cheeks and realized he was crying. His father, his quiet, humble father, who had packed his lunch in a brown paper bag every day, who had taught James that true wealth wasn't about impressing others, but about having choices, had been worth more than the entire Westbrook family combined.